Well, thanks for staying with us on the program. It's time now to get into the stories as headlined on the newspaper and other issues in the news. Joining us to start the conversation in our studio is the president of the Nigerian Nexus, Patriot Desmond, Patriot Fowobi. Good morning to you.
Good morning, gentlemen. It feels good to be celebrating Eid-el-Fitr in your studio.
Well, thank you so much for finding a time to come join us. I mean, it's your tight schedule, and I mean, it's public holiday, but here you are with us, ready to talk about Nigeria's many troubling challenges. Well, in the spirit of Eid-el-Fitr, Patriot Desmond, the president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and other leaders in the country have called for peace amid calls for better governance in the country. Now, this is also coming at a time when the country is facing some sort of heated polity and tensions in terms of security. What do you make of these calls, and do you think they are quite timely or not?
There is never a time that is wrong to always call to ensure peace in the country. Every time that you have the mic as an individual and as a leader, when you have the ovation, it is important for you to always call for utmost peace in our society, because with peace there will be progress. When there is peace, there will be prosperity. The importance of peace can never be overemphasized. Irrespective of the political conflicts, irrespective of some of the perceived injustice, and what's on allegations here and there, conflict or violence is never an option. In the height of very tough fight or negotiation or conflict of interest, no one, I repeat, no one should consider violence as a tool or a means or instrument of peace. The only instrument of peace is negotiation. I've said it before. As a scholar and of peace, I always say this, that never you expect to live, even in your own family house, in your community, in your heterogeneous community, without expecting some forms of diverse opinion and conflict, interest. Conflict is a natural phenomenon, which means it is part and parcel of every evolving society, more or less like our own, that is even a pluralistic society with diverse ethnicity, religion, and interest. There will always be situations that would lead to some interest.
I'm not talking about those recurrent situations that lead to a breakdown of order. We've seen particularly in the FCT, this procession by Shiites, the proscribed Islamic movement. And we don't understand if it's one of those recurrent situations that cannot be more or less put to an end in terms of the loss of lives that occurs each time there is that procession. In line with this, it's the holy month of Ramadan coming to a close, but this group continue to find a way to somewhat thwart the tenets of Islam and this peace that the president is calling for.
You see, like I told you, I am a student of peace and conflict resolution. And in that balances, in that field, there is what we call protracted conflicts. And this kind of conflict, you don't expect a swift resolution to it, but rather with sincerity of purpose, you can transform that situation into a situation that you can manage to avoid what we call violence or loss of life or destruction of properties. In this sense, I can put it to you that the federal government, the actors involved, has failed. We've been talking about, there is a place for governance, there is a place for politics, and there is a place for conflict resolution. If you look at our country, you find out that the country has not prioritized conflict resolution. When I say conflict resolution, there are supposed to be designated individuals that their business on daily basis is to carry out extensive research on so many issues, elements, factors in the society that can lead to conflict, that has prone conflict.
Now, Patriot Desmond.
Now, the issue of Shiite is long-standing. Shiite is not a new situation. Even before the Boko Haram, we have had clashes, continuous clashes with Shiite. It is an ideology conflict, and ideological conflict is not easily resolved because it touches on emotions and the survivor. It touches on the emotion and the entity of a humanity. It is not something you can take away from the humanity. The only way you can do is to exterminate, which is a genocide, is a crime, is a crime. You cannot. People need to understand something. There is in every conflict there is what we call issues, and there are objects. The federal government needs to come to a round table where they can extensively understand what are the interests and what are the issues. Like I told you, nobody goes into conflict unless there is interest. And I tell you, it is only when federal government and the actors are ready to go into understanding their interest, then we can start talking about ensuing peace in the society. We cannot have that desired peace until the federal government understood. Forget about the object, forget about the narrative, forget about the push, forget about the recalcitrant behavior of these Shiite members. Look deep, forget about all this distraction. Yes, if you focus on this distraction, it will aggravate the federal government or the military to take some serious action. But look beyond their recalcitrant behavior and focus more on what are sometimes the propelling factor of this conflict are really minor issues.
Let's talk
but because
about
you are being carried away by
happened.
the distractions or the object of the conflict, you will not get to the nitty-gritty, and
Petro,
you won't be able to resolve the conflict.
Beyond these technicalities, let's talk about the issue at hand at the moment. Let's talk about the realities of what transpired on that particular day when
it was a procession.
It was a procession in where they were calling for Free Palestine, hashtag Free Palestine. Now, the argument surrounding this, in as much as they might have had their own reasons, but the emotional the emotional translation of the typical Nigerian who has no business with the Israel-Palestine war is, why are Nigerians calling for Free Palestine in Nigeria? What business do we have with Palestine? That is just the general notion that an ordinary Nigerian has. And you are calling for such issues of strong international concerns, and you are turning it violent by attacking people and attacking security agencies. According to reports, not just Shiite members lost their lives on that day. Innocent people lost their lives. One soldier allegedly lost his life. Do you still think that there is need for talks when this? What talks?
Let's take away emotion from this issue.
I'm not being emotional. I'm just.
I
being
understand,
objective.
but no. When you are even looking at the issue entirety, you need to understand first of all that these people you see, this object you see, they are not the major factor.
What is the major factor?
The major factor is that there is interest. It is interest that will make organizations, that will make individuals, that will make conglomerates to sponsor.
You're speaking abstractly because
I'm coming.
Interest.
Please let me. I will get there. I will get there. Yes, that's where I'm going to.
A spade. There's no need.
That's where I'm going to.
That's where
I'm going to. That's where I'm going to. You see, you need to understand that this is unfortunate that some of our jobless young people, it also talks more about the failure of governance in Nigeria. I'm not putting the blame on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, because none of those boys you see there is less than 5 years. And Asiwaju emerged as president not even up to 3 years. So it is not
barely 2 years.
Barely 2 years. So it is not a failure of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu government, but successive governance in Nigeria over the years.
And I'm sure a 10-year-old has no business with,
yes, with that possession.
With that procession.
So it is age-long problem that we need to start as a nation to look at how we can resolve. The issue of youth badge, the issue of young people's energy not properly channeled into productive ventures. We have a youth population, and at every slight of what they call aggravation, you will see chaos, you will see stuff like this. And let me tell you, don't forget that even in terms of normal protest in Nigeria, usually turns violence, because our society has lost it, in the sense that these young people you see involved in this violence, persecuting violence in forms of calling for Palestine. Remember the last time we had, was it August, when we had bad governance protest? Do you know that there are some young people in Kano that rose the flag? Is it flag of Russia?
We have spoken about this
now.
On this
those people don't really understand even what is Palestine. Some of those guys, if you investigate them, what is Palestine? They don't know where Palestine is located in the map. They don't know the country, they don't know the interest, they don't have business. Now, it is now left for the NIA and the National Security Advisors of the government to understand what is the interest of the sponsors, because they have sponsors. It is the federal government have sole business not with the boys on the street, but the sponsors of these boys. Now, thank God that this is an organized body, MNI, this movement, this Shiite movement. They have leaders. What is stopping the federal government for over years to sit down in a round table, a respected round table with this group, the leadership of this group? Continuous engagement would help the federal government to get to the roots and come face to face with the sponsors. It is just a distraction. Calling for Palestinian, all those things, is just a mere distraction to dissuade the people and the government from the major interest.
History of conflicts between the shared members.
Do you know that some years ago, General Buratai,
the military in the country,
in Zaria about 6 years ago,
agreed to a roundtable discussion?
They have never. They have never.
Then treat them as what they are.
You cannot treat them as. At the end of the day, when you try to prosecute this
because a lot of
violence, you are going to be killing. You are not killing Palestinians, you are killing Nigerians.
This sect has some sort of international sponsorship.
Of course, it is known to me, it is known to you, it is known to everybody.
That have been linked with terrorism financing. Why are we still treating them with baby gloves?
It is not treating them with baby gloves. It's about federal government doing the needful. See, let me tell you, it may not be Shiite member. It could be any other gullible Nigerians from any quarters. All that you just needed to do is to bring them together. Give peanuts. I'm coming.
Let's
look at this. Let's discuss this.
Why are other Muslim processions not violent?
It is not.
No, hold on, Patriot Desmond. Yesterday was Eid, and a lot of Muslims had gone, to Eid grounds to pray, and there were even some sort of celebrations on the street and all. Why were those ones not violent? Why do Christian
let me tell you,
why don't they get violent?
Now, with due respect to the Muslim, with due respect to the Muslim society and community in Nigeria,
yes.
I want you to understand that most Nigerians in this frustration situation or level they have the tendencies of being violent at any point. Look at what happened in the South.
It's not
I'm telling you.
I think it's more of a Shiite problem.
It is not Shiite. It is not just anybody can be a member of Shiite.
Gentlemen,
every Nigerian can be a member of Shiite.
We keep calling for religious tolerance. We keep calling for peace and all. But every single time Shiite members hit the street,
let me tell you,
policemen lose their lives, military men lose their lives. Ordinary, innocent Nigerians on the street lose their lives.
Now, let's rest this Shiite issue and the issues. Let's focus with the peace that's been called for by President Bola Tinubu and other statements.
We can talk about that.
Other statements he made during that Eid celebration at the presidential villa because of time. Now, he talked about the FCT. There's been keen interest on the FCT, especially when it comes to their location, the infrastructural development. Now, it was more shocking to some people at some point when that decision was taken because no explanation was given at the time. When the FCT was removed from the Treasury single account. But yesterday, in more like a jokingly manner, he said it was to give the FCT room to grow and for residents to participate in its governance. But people keep on looking at it, especially with the comments he made in terms of the election and the role of the FCT minister that has become one of the most questionable roles of a government of national unity or anti-party in terms of what his party stands to benefit, particularly in the role of the FCT again.
The emergence of Barrister Yemsom Wike, His Excellency, Barrister Yemsom Wike, former governor of Rivers State, as a minister under the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not for national unity or for growth. It's for political interest. It is just interest based. Yemsom Wike, you saw the role he played towards during the electioneering that led to the victory of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He betrayed himself, he betrayed his party, he betrayed his state to give Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu victory in South, in Rivers State particularly. Beyond that, you saw the role that Wike has been playing since he became the Minister of FCT. He has been destabilizing different structures.
Doesn't this constitute what they call anti-party?
It is.
So why is the PDP
and I'm not
taking any
even
action?
See, one of the greatest annoyance that I have in this present day Nigeria is with the People's Democratic Party, because they have not only failed themselves, they failed Nigeria for not standing up and to support the truth by being the sole opposition party. Today, the voice of ADC, the voice of NMPP, the voice of even SDP is becoming louder than the voice of the PDP that has more than 8 governors. It is quite pathetic and quite embarrassing for a party like that. Something is going on that the Nigerians needs to know. I'm not surprised. Some few days ago, I saw the former Chief Justice of the Federation, Ariwola, and some other bencher visited the Yemsom Wike. There is something that is going on in Nigeria that a lot of people are quiet about, and that is something is happening to our judiciary. I think there is a trade for justice ongoing that needs to be investigated.
Do you think this is somewhat off the back of the
And
benevolence?
that's why you see, let me tell you, let me link it to your question. And that is why you see that PDP governors and some PDP stewards cannot actually stand up to defend democracy by being a strong opposition because of the threats they get from the judiciary. And that is why we need to beg on the APC government, especially the leader of this country, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, to try to look at how he can justify some of his action by focusing more on the prosperity of this country and calling spade. A lot of people have complained about the actions of Barrister Yemsom Wike, and yet the president is not interested. The president, over time, on different public spaces, has claimed that Wike is one of his best performing minister, and he loved him. But what I'm saying is that now we are seeing it. It's coming out clear. The president alluded, and he said it clearly, and everybody saw it, that the reason why he gave him the appointment is because he wants to win FCT. He wants his party to dominate. And you can imagine how a president will buy somebody over from another party with the aim of destroying the other party. And that is why it's so annoying that the likes of Atiku Abubakar, the like of Kwankwaso, the like of Peter Obi, the likes of all these gladiators cannot just come together as a front, as a vanguard to challenge the status quo. If things is not challenged and is left to go on this way, I tell you, the country will swing gradually into a one-party system. Look at the shenanigans that we are seeing in FCT. Look at what is happening.
Now, Petro, let's talk about the finance here, because this is key. Whatever political ambition is backed by finance. Let's talk about this money now. The autonomy given to the FCT to operate as though it was a state with this removal from the Treasury single account,
Yes.
the oversight in terms of following the money, who does it lie with? And who is to say that this finance would not be some of the, what I call it, lobbying power? Because if the infrastructure is better, the people tend to vote for the APC regardless of the FCT minister's influence.
First of all, it is our taxpayer. It is taxpayer money that we are talking about. So we all have a stake in the FCT, whether it is APC government or Wike or President Bola Ahmed Tinubu that is in charge of controlling these resources. Nigerians must stand up for the truth to follow the money. We need to know how much you've spent. I'm still waiting to see the forensic. I'm still waiting to see what justification would make the FCT minister to spend billions of Nigeria naira in renovating international conference center. See, some of these things they are doing is questionable.
Is that not under his jurisdiction, Patriot Desmond?
It is to spend to squander our money and waste our money.
Well, how are you certain that it was in terms of squandering the money that he?
What infrastructure? What are you bringing to ICC that was built with a barely 2 billion naira, and you are using about 39 billion to renovate it?
Well, if you take a look at when ICC was built,
so some people have said, I'm coming. Some people have said,
when the renovation is happening right now.
Some people
take a look at the inflation rates, the naira devaluation, and all of that.
Okay, can you allow me to express myself in this studio this morning?
All right, Petra.
Do you know that people have alleged that build up to the general election that Wike had invested so much money, and Asiwaju wants him to recoup back his money, and that is why he's looking away from some of the shenanigans, some of the things that we have seen. How can you spend? Yes, do you know that in Nigeria politicians are very, very crafty and very smart. The only way they loot money is when they bring the infrastructure. That is the ideology. When they walk, they steal. When they walk, they steal. I just hope that all the institution that is saddled with the responsibility, I'm not talking about the civil society now, I'm talking about the EFCC, I'm talking about Bureau of public procurement, I'm looking at Code of Conduct, ICPC, everyone that have the legislation to perform oversight should ensure that there is transparency and accountability at the end of this government. No single Nigerian should go forward to vote because of merely building of infrastructure that the price or the money used cannot be justified. If at the end of the day, Emerson Wike turned FCT to London and he cannot provide accountability and transparency on how much he has recovered, how much he has spent so far in making Abuja to look like London, then nobody should vote for that party.
Well, that's a very strong call this morning, but particularly I'll take from what you said in our next conversation, legislative functions in oversight. The House of Reps Committee on Public Accounts had begun recoveries of over 50 billion naira owed Nigeria by different oil companies. Now, this money continues to be recouped in batches and is dating back all the way to 2014, some of these outstanding debts that are yet to be paid. What do you make of this effort? Is it long overdue? Is the issue more glorified than it should be?
As a matter of fact, B2, this tells you more about our institution in this country. It is more and more looking like we are to lose trust and interest in this institution. If it will take National Assembly intervention for us to cut back the long-standing money that is long overdue in circulation. Meanwhile, don't forget that National Assembly, that's not their primary assignment. It's their secondary assignment, oversight. There are institutions, I've said it before in this studio, that there are organizations, agencies of government that was started with the responsibility of recouping back this money, but they failed on their own responsibility and nobody is saying anything. Why does it have to take the intervention of the National Assembly for us to get this money, whereas we have institutions that were supposed to be getting this money? That is to tell you that we cannot trust some of these government agencies. We cannot trust them, and the government is not doing anything. And let me even tell you, the National Assembly, some people have said they are corrupt, they are this and that, but if not for National Assembly today, some of the good things we are seeing in this country won't be getting them because the institution and government agencies, they are disappointing us on a daily basis, and the government seems not to take what they call accountability and efficiency seriously.
Well, interesting take you have there, Patriot Desmond. But going forward, we hear that the members of the House of Representatives are threatening stricter, sanctions on these oil companies. Also issuing a 20-day ultimatum to about 4 other companies, to remit 34.8 billion naira to the federal government coffers, or also face some of the sanctions by the members of the House of Representatives. Now, the typical Nigerian watching us at the moment might just be hearing billions of naira flying over our heads, but they will not probably understand to what end these monies have been recovered, and even when they're recovered, what exactly will these monies be channeled to? That is the major concern here.
You see, the issue of lack of participation and interest in governance among Nigerians is something that is a major concern. A lot of Nigerians have lost interest in the system. Yeah. Take it or leave it. That is why you see that when you mention those names, it does not resonate with them. It does not translate into any meaningful venture to them. Yeah. They don't really have any connection with it, and that is why nobody is even following the money.
True.
If not for the efforts of some civil society organizations like Code and Transparency International, TERAP, and some of that is advocating seriously for participation of Nigerians in this money, because it is our commonwealth. A lot of people do not have any interest, because as you're mentioning this money, at the end of the day, you will hear it, Abacha recovered and sent to the CBN, and yet at the end of the day, it's being shared among the state governors. And this money, when it gets to state, the next thing is they change it to dollar and stock it somewhere. You see that
unaccounted for.
Unaccounted for. You see that there has to be some legislation that when certain money is recovered, if it is electricity that is a priority, don't share that kind of money, because we have a budget for every year. So this is like, what do they call it? Addition. So when this recovered loot or money comes in, what I expect is that we should have a tangible project that will be done with that project, and at the end of the day, it will be put there on the billboard that this structure or this infrastructure was put in place by social money recovered by Abacha, money recovered from Saraki, money recovered by Akpabio, money recovered from Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, money recovered from Olusegun Obasanjo, money recovered from Tinubu. You will see it boldly written that this is what the money that has been used for. Yes. But when you bring in this money and I take it back to the foundation account and you share it, it will not make Nigerians to stand up and fight to ensure that more people that are owing this country or people that are in position of public funds release them. And until Nigerians get to that level where they will be interested in knowing what has happened to our money.
And such transparency on the part of the government as well.
You see, Nigerian governments, they are really at liberty to do whatever they feel or wish to do, because Nigerian people have lacked interest. And it was a deliberate effort by government over the years. And government has actually made Nigerians not to be interested in issues of governance. A lot of people, even at the local level, do not even care to know how much gets into the local government, how much was allocated for road, SYC road, and that. Until Nigeria gets on board, you don't need to be in government before you are interested in governance. And until Nigerians understand their role for calling for transparency and accountability and monitor how their money is being spent, we may not held anywhere. And that is the challenge. A lot of Nigerians are not interested, and that is why you see that this governance can do whatever they want to do. Nigeria need to start demanding for what they call accountability. Accountability. Until when our government knows that they are going to give stewardship to the people, you see that their shenanigans and some of the misbehavior and bad governance approach will be reducing from our society drastically. And that is my call to Nigerians this morning. Wherever you are interested in the prosperity of this country. It is now important that you must take responsibility for the future of this country by asking the right question, ensuring that you demand for accountability, no matter how small it is, from your councillors, from your chairmen, from your House of Assembly, from your House of Representatives, from your senators, and more importantly, from the governors across the 36 states, and from Unions on Wiki, the FCT minister.
Well, we have a little less than 10 minutes. Let's see how many more issues in the news we can talk about. Amidst all this economic hardship, there seems to be a thriving illegal business, and it's kidnapping. Every now and then we commend the army, the military for their efforts to rescue kidnapped victims. The federal government maintains its no ransom payment policy, but yet again it seems to be a thriving sector. We just heard that the military has been able to rescue kidnapped victims in Taraba and Rivers, 35 of them again. Is there an end to this?
The number of, one of the greatest move, smartest move that this government will make in the area of security that will salvage the situation is to call for amnesty. The number of proliferation of small arm, light weapon in the circulation is quite pathetic. Some weeks ago, some months ago, we talked about it in this studio, and after that time, I've not heard anything. You guys have not asked me question about that from that time to now, about what happened to about 133,000 ammunition from that is missing from the NPF, Nigerian Police Force. Till date, no response, no information, no follow-up response. We've not heard anything. You can imagine 133,000 weapons just from the police. And don't forget, also, you also talked about it in this studio, that we have local manufacturer of ammunition who is responsible for licensing and ensuring that they are working together with the Nigerian military to ensure that every one weapon that goes out from each of these factories is licensed and they can track it. Beyond that, federal government needs to make a concerted effort. Yes, I know we have different security architecture, even local vigilantes, that some of them use local weapons. And don't forget that whether the weapon is local or foreign, it has the tendency of killing people and to be used for prosecuting violence and criminality
in the society.
And let me tell you, until we are more innovative with our approach, this guerrilla warfare will not end. This kidnapping will not end, even if government makes the greatest effort. In America, I know that weapons, a lot of citizens, private citizens, have right to own their own ammunition, but with license, and it can be tracked. Do you know the number of, if I tell you the number of boys that I know that have weapons in the name of cultism and the rest of them, every day they are being caught, every day. Where are they getting those weapons from? And why is our border so porous? Yes, we are not dealing with the issue of civil war anymore. So what is responsible for the interest of young people and Nigerian people that do not have the license to own ammunition? Majority of them are now owning weapons, whether local, whether foreign, or whether it is smuggled into the country. One thing I want to advise the NSA, the Office of the National Security Advisor, is to constitute a committee that can work with every security outfit and agencies on how to recoup these weapons, ammunitions from the society. It can come with what they call forgiveness. Federal government can be so smart. You can tell the Nigerian people that you're going to forgive them. Beyond forgiveness, you're also paying them for releasing their weapons.
More like an amnesty program.
More like amnesty. Amnesty program we do not only need amnesty program in Niger Delta. I tell you today, if you know the number of Fulani boys that is owning weapons, the number of Igbo boys that is owning weapons, the number of Yoruba boys, Igala that owns weapons. That is why we need a national amnesty. That is how creative and innovative a government should think at this material time.
You just mentioned these weapons in the hands of certain individuals. Let's go to Edo State, where we saw the recent killings of about 16 individuals who were alleged to be, hunters on transit to the northern parts of the country, and were massacred and burnt to ashes by residents of Uromi. Now, we hear that the governor has suspended the security corps boss and also dismantled the vigilante organization that carried out that attack. What are your thoughts on this particular development in an already heated polity like Nigeria?
First of all, I would like to say my sincere condolence to the families and to the region that was affected by these killings. Sincerely, I sympathize and I share in their pains. It is barbaric. It is totally uncalled for Nigerians, under any covers, to put laws into their own hands. It is so unfortunate. You know, the president, I want to also use the opportunity to appreciate our security agencies for nabbing 14 of them, of the suspects, immediately, as well as making other effort to ensure that every person who have hand in that criminality, it is blaspheming, it is unconstitutional to kill anybody under any guise, even if they were kidnappers, even if you caught them with ammunition. The precedence you are going to leave behind is that some people who do not understand what you are trying to do can take it up in terms of revenge, and which can set this nation on fire. Yeah. You see, people need, beyond recouping people into security, they need serious orientation. It's not a joke when you take Nigerian, before you recruit someone into police, you take them for training for 6 months, 7 months. It is not a combatant training, it is educational training, orientation training, where they give them serious orientation on how to prosecute violence and prosecute conflict or crime. But this, in the name of vigilante group, in the name of JTF, in the name of this, we now have people who don't have business in security. Extrajudicial killing is the reason why Nigeria has been in serious problem from the time in 1966, 1967 till date. Nigerians have not yet recovered. Thank God, I really appreciate the maturity that has been expressed by our northern brothers, because if not for the effort of security agents, you know, they've done more. Security agents, you need to applaud the security agencies, that you have not seen what they call retaliation from other parts of this country is because the security agency have engaged critical stakeholders, and they have moved into action swiftly. And it's because of that we are not seeing what they call revenge and retaliation from other parts of the country. You see, and what makes it even more very technical and sensitive is the fact that the number of people that were killed, it is not Yoruba people, it is not Deltans, it is not Igbo, it is the northerners, whether Fulani, whether Hausa, whether Kogi, the northerners. So you can imagine a country that we are calling for peace, we are calling for unity, we are calling for one Nigeria, and some people, because of their immaturity, lack of professionalism, they want to set the country on fire by taking laws into their hands. You know, I say something, I've not investigated the case, whether it is true or false. They do not have that right under any guise to put laws
into their
hands, because it will leave a wrong precedence which can lead to what they call which can aggravate other ethnic group, and it's not what we need. Do you know the number of Uromians that lives in the north? Do you know the number of Deltans, Edo-lites, that lives across the north? You can imagine, if not for the swift action of the security organizations and agents in this country, do you know what we are going to be talking today?
Reprisal attack.
Very quickly now, the Emir Sanusi II has also waded into this matter, and is begging from the northern angle.
Yes, I told you.
It's more the concern of how quickly issues like this can be characterized as an ethnic war or a religious war in Nigeria. Having said this, going forward, how do we ensure that in keeping up with state vigilantes and the call for state policing, this labeling of people as killer headsmen do not continue?
Yes, it is about orientation. That's where you need the Ministry of Information and the Ministry of Information and National Orientation, and particularly the National Orientation Agency. You see, government has not prioritized the peace of this country beyond mere lip service, beyond ensuing peace, calling for peace. There are some institutional organizations in this country that you are supposed to strengthen. What are you doing with Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution? We have an agency of government, an arm of government that is meant to carry out research, provide technical reports on how National Orientation Agency can channel their action. Even the military can channel their action. But do you know that it is just a mere glorified structure without any instrument to work with? I'm talking about budgeting or interest. The best way President Bola Ahmed Tinubu can call for peace is not on television. Is to have strategic meeting with Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution. Is to have strategic meeting with National Orientation Agency and ask them sincere questions like a father that really loves this country. What are you doing? What are your programs to ensure that Nigerians love each other? Nigerians do not stereotype. Nigerians do not label a particular ethnic group. Do you know that there are places, if you mention the name Fulani, the next thing that will come to the mind of some people is herdsmen, is kidnappers. Meanwhile, some of these great Nigerians that have contributed immensely to the development and political stability of this country are Fulanis. Just like when you mention the name of Igbos, the next thing that comes to some people's mind is 419, thieves, criminals.
Oh,
IPOB, criminals. Meanwhile, there are deserving, honorable, distinguished Igbolites that have contributed to the social political stability of this country and prosperity of this country. What about Yoruba? You call them ritualists. You call them betrayers. And this is not what we should allow to thrive in this country. We need, the only agency that can do this effectively is the National Orientation Agency. Yeah. But the National Orientation Agency, from my own research, have been underfunded, and it was deliberate. It was deliberate because their role is sensitive. What is their role? Their role is to educate and sensitize the people in a different way, not the kind of education you get from the university, but the kind of education that can ensure peace in every given society. And instill national consciousness in the heart and minds of the people. But they are not working. In the last 21 years, they've not worked. Look at Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution. Have you heard the name in the recent time in the news?
Well, certainly not.
Do you know their responsibility? Their responsibility is to identify what they call latent issues. Latent, you know, there are some conflicts we call they are present in their latent stage. Yeah. They are not in their ripe, they are not yet materialized into violence. They are supposed to be investigating it and give report to police, give report to the NSA so that they can advise the president, actions. So that they can take action. But that institution, their office is at short gate in central business. They don't even receive visitors. People don't even know what the office is meant to achieve. And we are talking about calling for peace. The best way the president can call for peace is to strengthen this institution and to give them marching order.
Very timely calls, Patriot Desmond, but I'm afraid time is fast running and we must let you go. Thank you so much for finding the time to come to the studio to lend in your deep wealth of knowledge. It's always an interesting and engaging conversation with you here on Morning Express.
Thank you for having me, and till when next we meet again. God bless you guys.
And God bless Nigeria.